It is something all homeowners and house hunters want to know. Which way are property prices heading? Are we facing a boom or maybe a bust? Well, the experts have analysed all the key data and we are bringing it to you now. What house and unit prices will be doing by the year 2020. Dr. Andrew Wilson, Domain Group's senior economist, joins us now. Andrew, this is crucial information. You have the cold, hard facts.
Wow,
Tell
pressure.
us, what are we going to see on the property front?
Well, maybe not so much of the boom and bust that we've been used to over the last 4 or 5 years, or maybe the last 2 decades. I think we're in for a more sustained period of stable price growth, not those peaks and troughs that we've been used to. So a lot more predictability and certainty in the market going forward. And I think that's a very good thing for everybody.
I think there'd be a lot of people who'd agree with that. Now, we know that it's a different story depending on which market you're looking at. So let's have a look at some of the capitals. Sydney, of course, has seen phenomenal growth. What are we expecting there over the next few years? Well,
look, no more of that extraordinary growth we've had over the last 3 years, those double-figure annualised increases in prices. But Sydney will still be top of the pops. It is investor central and prices growth, I think about 4 or 5% per year over the next 4 or 5 years.
Okay, Melbourne, that's another hot one.
Yes, look, similar, not the boom again that we've seen in Melbourne recently. A similar sort of situation to Sydney, but Melbourne's been driven by migrants, very strong migrants into Melbourne, and I think around about 4 or 5% too there.
Okay, Brisbane a little bit more affordable in recent years?
Well, look, it's been a steady market in Brisbane. It is suffering from the downturn in the mining sector. I think if we get a lower dollar in Queensland, that will help to improve the economy. A little bit less in terms of growth compared to Sydney and Melbourne, around about 3 or 4%.
Okay, Adelaide.
Well, look, Adelaide's remarkably resilient. It does have an underperforming economy, but I think that it'll keep moving through at around about a 2 or 3% annualised growth rate over the next 4 years.
And Perth, we know prices were affected there by the big mining boom. That's come off a bit. What's going to happen with prices?
Well, look, the end of the fly-in, fly-out. It's no surprise that prices have been falling in Perth the last 2 years. As the local economy improves, we will see prices start to grow, but, you know, around about 1 or 2% as it recovers over the next 2 or 3 years.
Okay, that's the long range. Let's have a look a little more at the short term. We've seen a bit of a drop recently, the first in about 4 years. What do you think we're expecting at the moment? Are we going to see turbulence immediately?
Well, look, we are seeing prices bounce around. The Sydney market's really back in town over the last month, 80% clearance rates. I think that there's a sense maybe there'll be a change to the tax treatment for property and investors are moving back into the market. But, you know, lower interest rates always activate markets. I think we're seeing that in the Sydney market in particular, but other markets are reasonably steady.
If we're talking about that uncertainty being the negative gearing changes should Labor win the election, is that affecting unit prices in particular? How are they differing from house prices?
Well, look, there's no secret that unit development's been at record levels in most capital city markets in CBD over the last 2 or 3 years. That has affected prices, but it has generated a lot of economic growth. I think it will take some time for demand to catch up with supply in those markets, but maybe some good buying opportunities.
And just quickly, the big story this morning is Brexit, Britain leaving the European Union. Will that have any impact? I mean, we're a world away, half a world away. Will it have any impact?
Look, I think at the margin it won't. I think that, you know, volatility in local commodities market and equities markets and currency markets will work its way through the system over the next week or so, but really not so much of an impact in Australia.
All right, Dr. Andrew Wilson from Domain, thank you for joining us today. Stevie?